who can forget that moment? So eerie and awful. And now there's new outrage after the bombing of the Boston Marathon, as an iconic U.S. magazine seems to glorify one of the men who's now accused of killing those 4 Americans and injuring more than 200 others. The face of Dzhokhar Tsarnaev is now plastered on the cover of Rolling Stone magazines from coast to coast. And just a short while ago, we heard that one major store chain has now refused to carry this month's copy. Trace Gallagher has more on this for us in L.A. Trace?
And that major chain, Martha, is CVS Drugstore, saying that they will not carry this month's issue of Rolling Stone out of respect to the victims of the Boston bombings. Literally, look, what has the people so upset and baffled over this is the picture and the layout, more specific, of the picture. Take a look at this, because you can see that it looks very much like a Bob Dylan picture or Jim Morrison on the right. And the question many are now asking is why the magazine is making him look like a teen heartthrob instead of a terrorist and alleged killer. And some critics point out that Rolling Stone is doing exactly what many terrorists hope, which is to send a dangerous message to any of his twisted supporters. And Dzhokhar Tsarnaev does have, in fact, supporters who believe that he is innocent. Rolling Stone says the article is, quote, a riveting and heartbreaking account of how a charming kid with a bright future became a monster. People in Boston say if Rolling Stone wanted a heartbreaking account, they should have put a victim on the cover and told the stories of how this hurt their families. This has created a firestorm online and has not been kind to Rolling Stone. One saying, quoting here, writing a story about Dzhokhar is one thing. Putting the glam shot of him on the cover was totally irresponsible. Another saying, you are giving horrible people power. Why not show the good people who helped that day, who deserve to be recognized? Disgraceful. And the people of Boston are also weighing in. Listen.
I don't approve of it because it's not true to who he is, at least who we think he is.
You know, if they want to become famous, if they want to make the cover of a national magazine, no problem, kill somebody.
Yeah, and some say that Rolling Stone only had a limited number of pictures to use, which is why this picture also appeared in other publications. Others saying totally unacceptable. With more on this, let's bring in Mideast journalist and Fox News contributor Lisa Daftari. And Lisa, I just keep going back. You know, when you were a kid, you heard that Dr. Hook song, you know, cover of the Rolling Stone, get my picture on the cover, buy 5 copies for my mother. It really is. I mean, it's a big deal for these rock stars to be on the cover of Rolling Stone. And if you put that picture up again of Jim Morrison, Bob Dylan, and Dzhokhar Tsarnaev, it really is uncanny, the layout of these 3 pictures, because it is almost identical in the way it's presented.
Right, and that's absolutely the awful and insensitive message that's being portrayed here, is that you could have a musical hit or a terrorist hit and you'll be on the cover of Rolling Stone, which is, as you said, a very coveted position. And this is not a conservative or a liberal issue. It's an American issue, and this was a very un-American move by Rolling Stone magazine. And I'm not going to question the journalistic value or integrity of the article or the journalist who did the interview, because this might be a very important interview to understand how he was radicalized and how we can prevent, you know, future young people from being radicalized as he was. But to portray him like this on the cover, right. What kind of message is that sending? And you know, this goes, it hits at the heart of it, contradicts exactly the Obama administration's view on terrorism. You know, Obama has said many times the war on terror is over. Osama bin Laden was captured. I mean, if that's the case, and we're calling these recent terrorists lone wolves or, you know, independent radicalized individuals, well, then it's our responsibility, therefore, to, you know, monitor media, social media, our universities, and to prevent future young people like this young man from becoming radicalized.
And we brought that up, Lisa. I mean, you know the Mideast, you've covered the area, and you know journalism. So we're not saying that Rolling Stone, this article, is not important, because they've done some very good investigative journalism in the past. And I haven't read the article, but this might be as well, you know, a very enlightening article about this young man. But the question is the taste and how you lay it out. And it's got people outraged with good purpose. And it really goes to the heart of what you were saying, is there are people who will say that this is exactly what terrorists want. They want this kind of publicity so that they can create more of a following.
And that's exactly the point here. It's exactly the way that it's being portrayed, which is the issue. And, you know, in the aftermath of 9/11, if you look back over a decade ago, this country had an awakening and an understanding that we have a new ideological threat that's on our soil, and people became aware. People wanted to know more, but we've since gone very far from that, and almost gone too far from that, where we're almost becoming, overcompensating, and for fear of being Islamophobic, the political correctness is leading us to put a terrorist on the cover of a national magazine like this.
Lisa, I gotta go, but listen, you make good points, and there's going to be a lot more follow-up because of this. Lisa Daftari, a Mideast journalist, thank you so much.
Pleasure.